simple fact is.
All right, so we'll move on to 7.3, amendments to personnel policies. This has been
This truck's gonna be more than that.
passed
So
on with
10
the
months, we just spent the 50 grand to rent a
town
truck.
attorney,
Why don't we just spend 50 grand to fix it? And then put it on warrant article.
and all of his changes have been implemented.
I move we amend the personnel policies as printed upon review, since it has been reviewed by the town attorney.
Second.
Having a first and a second, is there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to 7.4, the New Hampshire House Districts. A couple weeks ago at our last meeting, we discussed about the communities that are contemplating legal action. Give me a few minutes.
No mind at all.
To date, there was the discussion of, we were asked Scott to look into seeing which towns were involved or potentially getting involved with litigation against this. And the towns that we had discovered is Manchester, Meredith, Tilton, Sunapee, Deerfield, and Concord. We did receive some, at least a couple emails from residents stating that they are in support of Guilford joining this legal, potential legal action. Did I miss anything, Scott, on that?
No, I think you have summed it up. I have spoken with Attorney Peter Miller, who's willing to represent the town if the board authorizes the initiation of litigation on this matter.
I move we authorize Attorney Peter Millen to research potential litigation with other towns in this issue and represent us in any legal matter that we and you may deem necessary.
Second.
Having a first and a second, is there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to, we are going to table the Wesley Woods nonprofit charitable housing tax exemption to our next meeting. And again, a big thanks to Attorney Dyer and his client for willing to move that. And now we're on to New Hampshire Routes 11A and 11B, the discontinuance issue.
Scott, I move that we approve and sign the petition to the Commissioner of the New Hampshire Department of Transportation as presented or amended if applicable. That petition, I assume, has been vetted by the town attorney and solely posted?
It has not been vetted by the town attorney. I haven't discussed it with him at all. In doing some research on this, we're pretty much chartering new territory here. I haven't been able to identify any other town that has petitioned the DOT commissioner for discontinuance. However, the statute's pretty clear, so all I've done is slapped together an argument to present to the commissioner, and with it would go the plans that you see over there. It's basically two parcels. One is parcel A, which the town owns, triangle that's not being used for roadway, and we've left sufficient space, we think, for future use. And the other parcel B is the actual section of Route 11B that we would like the state to discontinue. So we are winging it, for lack of a better term, in terms of this approach.
I'm fine with that, thank you.
Having a first and a second, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. All right, we'll move on to new business. There's been a request, actually there's been two requests of memorial bench requests to be erected in Lincoln Park. I do want to say the first one is Norm Barrett. The other is Dr. Richard Breeder, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I will say on a personal note that Dave Barrett, the gentleman that we're talking about right here, was the New Hampshire Director of Marine Patrol. Great guy. On a personal note, great guy. A great friend. And I can definitely see why his family would want to do this. And then the other gentleman here from the letters that we have received, or the letter that we received, was a retired gentleman who lived at Samoset condominiums, and apparently, he just loved that area over there as well. Obviously, the question we'd have to ask ourselves is, Are we setting a precedent? So forth and so on. Scott, have I missed anything there?
No, it's just a strange coincidence that we've never dealt with this that I'm aware of, and now we have two requests at the same time for memorial benches in this park.
Yeah.
Scott, High Breeder suggests a standard bench of BC 401, CB 6 PC. Is that something we're going to standardize on? I would hate to see a pickpock of benches in that park.
Right.
But I don't object to them if they're standardized on some model, to be decided by Herb and Sheldon.
I haven't looked into it to know what that particular model.
I haven't either, I just happened to notice it tonight.
So I guess the first question that we have to ask ourselves, is the board inclined to fulfill a request like this to happen?
I am.
I guess in my mind, I agree with Kevin that we want to get a consistent bench. I think we need to look at limiting the number, so at some point it ends.
Well, the boards will always have that final decision. A board of selectmen will always.
I
have
just don't want to
decision.
see an auditorium. What's the outside word for that?
Amphitheater.
Huh? Amphitheater, exactly.
Thank you, Doug.
Never know what the future will bring. All right, so maybe my suggestion, gentlemen, if you may, maybe to make a motion that grants them approval pending the same type of bench, and then it's presented before us again so that we can approve it.
So they give us drawings.
Yeah, or, you know, one kind of bench, if they both agree to it.
Let me approach it a little
Please,
differently.
please.
I move we support both requests for the benches,
Yeah.
subject to the choice and approval of the Director of Public Works and the Director of Parks and Recreation.
And that the people take complete ownership of the cost and all that.
Yes.
And everything.
And give it to the
And
town.
then give
And
it-
then lead to the town, that's correct.
You want to put any limit to the number of
None at this time.
memorials? I'd like to add submission of those plans. Would you like to do that for me? So at least we'll know what we're gonna get.
Sure.
I don't want some ornate big thing.
I don't think the Director of Public Works does either. I think between the two of them, they can look at something that's maintenance free. Yes, sir.
Could I just make a comment?
Certainly.
I'm sure we can agree on a good-looking bench that would satisfy our needs as well as the families involved. The benches need to set on something substantial so that they don't tip, usually a concrete base. That would also be part of the requester's cost.
That's correct.
Supply that.
And requirement.
Everything.
It's on a hill.
It's bench complete, including the pad.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll second.
All right, having a first and a second, is there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, now Scott, you also had a question about the Shoreline Protection Act.
I do, Mr. Chairman, and Sheldon's back there, and we've discussed this on several occasions. I think by and large, first of all, we haven't ever been able to get a straight answer out of the Department of Environmental Services in terms of what we can do there with our view and what we can't do. But I've gone online, and the regulations seem very clear to me, and I've quoted them for you today, and that is, if the property was developed prior to July 1st, 2008, which Lincoln Park certainly was, and at one point in time that area was entirely clear, then as the owner, we are allowed to keep it entirely clear and not have any obligation to get a permit or replant or restore the area. And I think the Department of Public Works has been hesitant to go so far as to say we should just cut everything down and restore it to the way it used to be. And we can't get DES to give us an answer. The only thing they'll say is, well, read the regulations. Well, I've just quoted to you the regulations. So I would like, with the board's blessing, to take the approach that we should have that area entirely cleared and restored to its previous condition.
What is the reason for doing that, Scott?
For the, number one, the view, which has virtually been eliminated from the park of the water.
For people at the park or people living across the
For
park?
people who are in the park, you no longer, your view of the water is very, very diminished. And the longer we put off doing anything, the less likely we are to ever have that restored. But the regulations seem clear to me that we can restore it to its condition, which at one time was devoid of vegetation on the shore. It's basically rocks that have been put there. And I think we need to move in that direction for the sake of the park.
In all honesty, I've never been down along the shorefront. Is it rocky or gravelly or sandy?
There are boulders there, and the trees are growing up through the boulders.
Do you need a motion?
As long as we have the blessing of the board, then we can instruct DPW that the selectmen have endorsed the removal of all those trees.
Now, what's the cost of something like that, other than labor?
Just, I don't see any cost other than our crew doing the work.
Are we talking giant trees, are we talking just
No,
brush?
the biggest ones are maybe 6 to 8 inch diameter.
Will we transplant some to the cat path?
These are really low value trees. There's no,
Especially
you
if they go through a rock.
yeah, they're very low value trees. What do I want to say there?
I'm okay with it.
I forgot what I was saying.
That's not surprising. Director Morgan, any questions?
Oh,
I mean, any
questions.
comments on that? Any concerns?
Yes and no.
Okay.
The town administrator's right, they're small trees that have grown up. For many years, we kept it pruned. We never took the roots out, so the trees would regrow, which was one of the ultimate requirements of DES, to make sure you have a stable root system against the water. Having said that, I would like to get, and we've done everything that we were able to do, that we interpreted the regulations for, to recreate that vista that everybody would come to the park for. The park is at 2 levels. One is the low level, which the trees have pretty much enveloped. So you now move to the higher level to try and gain that vista again, and it's a matter of time before that disappears as well. I really appreciate what you folks are considering doing. My question is, what about the pushback from DES? And I don't have an answer.
Well, here's the solution. You do it with prison help.
What's the downside?
For the record, that was selected Kevin Hayes.
And John.
And Jack O'Brien. No.
If there's pushback, we'll take the heat.
The question I was gonna ask, Sheldon, are you concerned about the roots making anything unstable on that hill?
No, we would leave the root system intact as we always have. We would cut the trees down to equally level with the bottom tier, which is what historically we've done.
But you wanna keep the trees there?
Well, you keep the root system there.
Well, that goes along with my question.
As long as we go on a system of maintenance each year, cut the suckers as they come up. Once you've gotten back to that, it's not a hard deal to maintain. That goes back to the thinking of DES many years ago. It's getting there from where they currently are today that concerns me. I'm sure there's going to be some pushback. I just want to make you folks aware that that will likely happen.
Can you do it under lights?
You know, the board wouldn't have an issue. How about we have Sheldon reach out to them formally, in writing as well as obviously verbally, reaching out to them, explaining to them that this is what we're planning on doing, and that they need to be able to, if they have a serious concern, they need to respond back to us in writing how our interpretation is not their interpretation, if it's the case, so that they can be aware of what's going on.
Can I get with the town administrator to make sure that I have all of his information?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Is it your understanding that we can do that without a full application? I'm familiar with the Councilor Gager's being said. Anytime you sneeze down there, you gotta make a full
If what the
application.
town administrator is alluding to is correct, yes.
Okay.
It's quite simple.
As
unfortunately.
long as you don't call us a piece of junk, go right ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna ask, does the town's conservation committee have a position on whether this would be desirable or not?
Hasn't been shared as far as.
They have not asked them. The property is managed by the board.
Yeah.
We're doing it by the book if we're leaving the root system in. Should be fine.
And again, Sheldon, the whole issue is that you're restoring it to what it was prior anyway.
Correct.
Which is Scott's position.
Yeah. All right, and then you'll keep the board posted as soon as possible?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll keep on going. 8.2 Kimball Wildlife Forest Wildlife Restoration Project.
I move that that we contract with Martin Forestry Consulting LLC in an amount not to exceed $8,000 for wildlife habitat restoration at the Kimball Wildlife Forest, under the supervision of County Forester Andy Fast, with funds to come from the Kimball Wildlife Forest Trust Fund, and to authorize the application for $600 from the New Hampshire Fish and Game Department Private Lands Habitat Improvement Program.
Easy for you to say. Second.
Having a first and a second, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to Forest Fire Warden appointment.
I move we appoint Chief Stephen Carey as the town's Forest Fire Warden for 2012, and to appoint Brian Clarenbach, Nathaniel Hansen, and Nathan LeMay as Deputy Forest Fire Wardens for 2012.
Second.
Having a first and a second, is there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to appointments to boards and committee. Under Conservation Commission.
May I ask a question?
Yes,
Can we do these all at one time, or do I have to do them by board?
I'm all in favor of doing them all at the same time.
Okay, I'd like to make the following nominations to appointments to the boards. For the Conservation Commission, John Goodhue to expire on April 30th, 2015, Everett McLaughlin to expire on April 30th, 2015, and Donald Simpson as an alternate to expire on April 30th, 2013. For the Planning Board, John Morgenstern to expire on April 30th, 2015, Dale Chan-Eddy to expire on April 30th, 2015, and as alternates Wayne Hall and Dennis Corrigan, terms to expire on April 30th, 2013. For the Recreation Commission, Richard Nelson to expire April 30th, 2015, Sue King to expire April 30th, 2015, and as alternates Lisa Mans Buckley and Vicky Carrier, terms to expire on April 30th, 2013. On the Zoning Board of Adjustment, J. Scott Davis and William Knightley, terms to expire on April 30th, 2014. Stephen Nix and Ellen Mulligan, terms to expire on April 30th, 2015. On the Historic District Commission, Historic District Heritage Commission, Mary Curtis and Carol Hopper, both terms to expire on April 30th, 2015.
One error there, and that is Mary Curtis did not want to be reappointed, so if you would delete that one, everything else works.
All right.
Considered deleted.
Having a first, do I have a second? I will second the motion. Having a first and a second, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of those, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Hey.
Nay. Motion carries. We'll move on to 8.5, discharge of firearms in compact neighborhoods, parks, playgrounds, and other public places. It's, HB 1341, Herb is asking the board to allow him to express his opposition to this bill on behalf of the town of Guilford. He did put a letter in here to the Board of Selectmen, and I'm sure you guys all read, and that obviously it's a huge concern of allowing this bill to pass. It has gone through the House, I believe, and it's now on its way to the Senate, if I've got that correct. And obviously he wants to speak against that.
In addition to that, without putting words in his mouth, but Chief Keenan are very much opposed to this bill, and so to the extent the board is willing to authorize Mr. Green, we should extend that authorization to the chief to express his opposition to this bill on behalf of the town.
Okay.
I move that we authorize Herb Green and Chief Kevin Keenan of the Police Department to oppose Bill number HB 1341, and that we take a stand in opposition to that same bill on behalf of the town of Guilford.
Second.
Having a first and a second. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, now,
Here we
Public
go-
input.
Here we go again.
if there's somebody from the public who'd like to speak, please do so at this time.
I respect your decision. I'm kind of shocked that we didn't discuss one thing, and that is the cost of renting a truck.
Kevin, I understand. We
I-
don't-
I-
we- we
it's
don't
a
know
done
yet.
thing.
We don't know yet.
We don't
And
even
we're
know
going
we're
to
gonna do
discuss
this.
this whole issue
Right.
at that
I
meeting.
think there was just, we shut off discussion. There's a few other points I would like to make. You made your decision, I respect that. I just want you guys to think about a few things. One, it's gonna be pretty hard to convince a judge that this, it has, Scott, you could probably, I think it has to be an emergency situation. It's not quite an emergency when this was foreseen cost. We talked about it. It was supposed to be a contingency on the ballot. That's number one. Number two, I know myself, Kevin, you can probably verify this, in the middle of the paving season, a truck going down is really not an option for me. I have to provide the trucks that I have committed for. If that means I have to rent it, I have to rent it. There's not too many places to rent used trucks. If you can get a deal with another department, that's fine. But I know Peterbilt and Kenworth works under a company called Paclease. The parent company's PACCAR that owns Peterbilt Kenworth. Ideal Lease for International, they all have their own leasing wing that you can do short-term rentals while your truck's in the shop. For me to rent a dump truck with a retail cost new of $165,000, it's $4,500 a month. We're talking about a $500,000 truck. I know E1 does it, I know Pierce does it. I mean, I don't know what the deals are, but I have to imagine that if it's $4,500 for a $165,000 truck, it's gonna be well over $5,000 for a $500,000 truck.
Have you thought somebody might want to contribute that, or at least bring the price down if we buy it from them?
Well, that may be possible, but they've already got the bid process has already been through, and that wasn't included. What's the incentive for them? Now, we're talking 10 months, we're talking 50 grand, the same amount of money we were just talking about fixing the truck. Why wouldn't we just fix it and then put it on the ballot again next year?
You got the horse before the cart, though. We haven't gotten to that point. We're still
Well, no,
making
I
a decision.
understand that, but I just find it ironic that the scenario of renting versus fixing was never brought up before this. I mean, we're talking a large sum of money, $50,000, more than likely. If you can get a used truck from another department, then that's great, I'm in favor of that.
How about that yellow Ranger?
Well, to speak on that, I know that's the
No,
truck.
don't expand that. I was
No,
only
that's the
kidding.
truck.
I was only kidding.
It is set up different. It has a hose reel in the back. I really don't know what the difference is, besides that it has a big reel. I'm not a firefighter, but maybe you could talk to Laconia.
So good points. Is
As
there,
long as the lug nuts aren't rusty.
thank you, Mr.
They don't like
Mayor.
that.
The pump works.
Anyone else? Mr. Murphy?
Totally different matter. You mentioned DES. I'm
Yes.
supposed to be meeting with the commissioner of DES next week, if you would wish. It's totally different. Some right-to-know requests that I've made of the state because of abuse of computer networks in his department. But as far as the town park is concerned, I could bring it up with him if he would so desire and get right to the top.
No, but I appreciate
Not
your
necessarily,
willingness. I appreciate your willingness. Thank you. Thank you. Trash.
Gentlemen, Doug Lambert, Farmer Drive. Yes, I'm here to talk about trash. I've been following the story in the paper about Concord pulling out of the single stream system, and I have to say that after I've been following it up to that point, to me, from where I sit, I thought that was good news, because I'm hoping that it causes the co-op to perhaps take another look at this. And I don't know, Sheldon, do you get the waste and recycling,
I get one, and I just took the email, the website down, I'm gonna go online.
yeah, they're free. It's actually it's a great read. And there was an article right at the beginning in the new one that came last week, and I brought copies, actually. I'd like to give this to Shelley.
Are you against what the group is doing at this point? Is that your point?
Yes, and actually, for this very reason right here, the title of the article, the study shows single stream is more wasteful and expensive. And I'm not going to bore you with everything, but you can see that I highlighted it. And what I really wanted to do is just, as a citizen, come here and say that yes, there are people out there in the world that actually take an interest in garbage. Kevin's one, I'm another. Maybe that's why we get along so well. I don't know.
But I think his is for other reasons. But go ahead.
Okay. In full disclaimer, that is actually the industry in which my company does work, in different aspects of it. But the point of this is it points out, if you read it, that for the causes explained, single stream recycling actually is more expensive than the what they call curbside recycling, where actually the customer or the trash generator does more of the sorting right there. And I just want to ask the selectmen and Sheldon, and I know Sheldon does his homework quite well, to proceed with caution on this. I think Concord probably saw the writing on the wall. A lot of the issues discussed in here, it actually costs more money to do it this way because it's more resource intensive. So I would just ask that in the ongoing discussions and thoughts and considerations that you take this point of view as well, and see that it might not be all it's cracked up to be, and that perhaps where municipal waste is really like police and fire, it's one of the very basic services that we provide as civilized society. And it is a necessary expense, and that certainly in the same article there's a story by the CEO of Covanta Energy, the largest trash to energy company in the country. And he says that we need to push as much as possible for recycling. And I think that this town is doing a good job, and the ongoing research and look at what's happening is always good. But before we just jump into something, let's make sure we do all the homework. And I'm not saying that we haven't, it's just, I saw this, I read that the group was still gonna maybe go forward or look and see what was feasible without Concord. I don't think that it really is feasible. And one last thing, I would be very cautious about a public sector run operation, with no disrespect to any of the people that might ultimately be in a situation like this. The private sector tends to do such things better, and that's been my other issue, is that this was going to be like a government run operation, so that it's just my nature to be suspicious of that. So thank you for your time and consideration, and I just submit that for your information on the subject.
Thank you,
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
It's interesting, Doug, that this report comes from United Kingdom. I don't know whether it has any bearing or not, but
Actually, you know, this country as a nation, there's some areas that we do real well in, and other areas we lag behind on. Waste management and trash and what we do with it's exploding all over the world. Everything is stagnant right here in this country. I guess everything. I guess that goes along with everything being stagnated, even garbage. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that hasn't spoke yet that would like to speak? All right, anybody else? Kevin, I see you want to speak.
While we're talking trash, which is one of my favorite subjects,
Real quick.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Your turn.
You don't know my background in the rubbish business, and I did a lot of consulting in the waste industry and everything, but just to add to what Doug had said, I mean, some of the reasons why every time the waste, and it doesn't matter private, public, more so on the public end, it always overruns the cost, is you have to understand how it's done. You have a facility, a plant, where all the recyclables, newspapers, bottles, cans, whatever, is all dumped together, it's run through this, it's run through conveyors, and it's manually sorted. There is magnets for the tin and, but man, people standing there all day with rubber gloves pulling this out. And it's very labor intensive, there's a high injury rate, a lot of workman's comp. Stinky, you get used to that. There's also the issue of they anticipate labor costs being this much, and then after a year of doing this, somebody says, screw this, we're gonna unionize. And you know yourself what happens when you unionize. So, bennies go up, everything else. So just to add to that, and your comment about the UK, I'm a partner in a business. We rent trash compactors throughout the US, and one of our sister companies, which I'm also a partner of, we do it in the UK as well. And I can tell you, I go once a year to England and
Look at your trash.
trash compactors. You know, the stationary compactors you see behind the
Yep, yep,
supermarkets.
yep, yep,
That's
yep.
the business we're in. But the UK is actually really, really progressive on the waste. I mean, we can learn a lot from them. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else? All right, we'll keep on moving. Selectmen's issues.
I've had enough to say tonight.
Amen to that.
As have I.
Okay, administrators report.
I've had enough to say.
Thank you. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, June 9th, 2012.
I move we adjourn.
All those in favor? Aye.
Crop tape.